What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Today I've got 4 crazy Entitled Parent stories for you. Entitled Parent at Sonic movie. I just got back from watching the Sonic movie. I'm 15, but Sonic was a huge part of my childhood, so I wanted to see it. My mum also wanted to see it because she remembered how much I used to love Sonic. I ordered my tickets online about 4 hours before the movie started. Once I got to the theatre, the movie had technically started 5 minutes ago, and I still wanted to get popcorn and a drink. I didn't rush because I knew I was just missing previews. Once I got to the seats I bought online, there were 2 kids in the seats that me and my mum bought online, accompanied by an entitled parent. My mum told the entitled parent that these were our seats, but the entitled parent insisted that the seats were hers. The entitled parent couldn't be bothered to get up and see that her kids were in C10 and C11, our seats. The movie was about to start and we were blocking people's view. Long story short, we switched to some empty seats. Well, if you thought the Sonic movie couldn't get any worse, imagine not being able to sit in your own seats at the cinema. You know what, if this was me, I would have just stood right in front of them, but I guess I'm like that though. If you book your seats online, you are entitled, pardon the pun, to sit in them, right? It's not really fair if someone else just sits in them. Maybe you could have got an attendant to help you. I'm sure they would have forced them to move out of the seats. Now for our second story. Entitled mum gets mad when I yell at her disabled son for feeling me up. So this happened when I was maybe 11. Back when laser tag was all the rage, I was invited to a birthday party of a cousin of my best friend, a little boy named Raul. And yeah, I know his name is probably pronounced Raul, but Raul is a bit cooler, isn't it? So Raul, me and some other kids noticed another strange kid trying to play with us. We'll call him DM. He told us he was actually 20 and it was clear he was disabled, and though he kind of seemed like a kid in size and mannerisms, he was not. Anyway, DM starts following us and trying to play with us, but obviously something seems a little off about it. Basically, he starts trying to feel me up. He starts with nonchalantly touching my shoulders, then my hips, and closer to my chest. I tell him to leave me alone, and my group of friends basically all tell him to go away. Well, his entitled mum comes roaring in, along with his entitled dad, to berate me on what a horrible bully I was for not allowing her son to play with us because he was disabled. The entitled mum got my mum, who took me from the party as I burst into tears. While back at my mum's friend's place, the adults get ready to talk me down for picking on a disabled kid, who was 20. When I, still sobbing, finally managed to say, "He kept touching me." Now this was like a record player grinding to a halt. My mum stood and asked, "Touching you where?" I showed her and she left to get on the phone to the host of the party. My friends turned to me and say, "You should have punched him in the face." Oh, OP, I'm so sorry that this happened, but I'm glad your mum and your friends had your back, eventually. Yeah, I'm sorry, but just because you're disabled doesn't mean that you have the right to do whatever you want. And no, I have nothing against disabled people. Obviously, it's terrible to be disabled, but that doesn't mean you can just touch random people. Now for our third story, Waitress gets stone cold revenge on my behalf. So, I have Asperger's syndrome, an autistic spectrum condition, and I also suffer from anxiety, which often manifests as a stutter. I'm usually a very talkative and upbeat person, but it often takes me a while to actually get my words out. When I'm trying to order at a restaurant, usually the staff are very patient and sympathetic. I get self-conscious pretty easily. So, entitled daddy comes along while I'm ordering food at a coffee shop. He's standing behind me with his little kid as I'm trying to order. My stutter kicks in and the lady at the counter is pleasantly helping me along. But the entitled dad says, "Come on, just spit it out for F's sake. We've been waiting for ages." I try not to look at the entitled dad and continue with my own business. I briefly glance down at his kid, who is starting to look extremely uncomfortable. "My kid's autistic, you know. We can't wait this long." "Yeah, so am I. So maybe you should be a little more understanding." "Just hurry the F up, mate." Then he puts on a fake stutter. So stop being an attention seeker." I was kind of shocked he was just casually swearing in front of his little kid. What a great example to set, right? So I continue trying to finish giving my order so I can finally step aside and let this idiot have his turn once I paid for mine. I'm feeling pretty self-conscious again now, and I'm starting to feel myself about to cry. I have very strong emotional reactions to the smallest confrontations. I think the lady serving me probably saw the look in my eyes. Now, I have never met any of the employees here, but this woman on that cash register is and always will be my hero. After he tried ordering, she began asking him loads of unnecessarily specific questions about what sauces or extras he wanted, but she was putting on a really exaggerated stutter. "Do you want anything else?" He was standing there trying to get her to spit it out as well, but she was taking like a full minute to say each sentence. You can see the cogs turning in the entitled dad's head. The entitled dad's kid was kind of laughing by now. I saw the register lady shoot him a little smile. Right, you can stop taking the P. Write the F now. I'm sorry, sir. I have a speech impediment. I got my food and headed for a table, but I have a perfect view of the entitled dad trying to place his order and pay very slowly. It took no less than 15 minutes to finally get his order in. It was a very slow day. The kid looked happy when he was given a huge lump of marshmallows for having to wait. I like to pretend that the entitled dad got spit in his coffee. I tipped that waitress like £20 after that. I didn't even have to get revenge. A kind-hearted waitress punished that git for me. Oh my goodness me, yeah, these people are the legit scum of the earth. I'm so glad that that guy got what he deserved. It was awesome that the waitress got a little bit of pro-revenge for what that idiot did to you. I'll just never understand people taking the mick out of people's disabilities or impediments. Just be grateful that you don't have one. It can't be nice to live with. There's no need to make people feel even worse or even more self-conscious than perhaps they already do about it. Just leave it. Now for our final story, Let Me Kidnap You or Else. A bit of backstory. My parents were extremely abusive to the point I had been diagnosed with depression at 10 and PTSD at 13. By the time I was 18, they began threatening me more and I ended up running away to live with my partner overseas. Yes, I met him twice before this in person and knew he was real. When I got there and decided to stay, I called my mum and told her I wasn't coming back and I was cutting contact with her and my dad. I told her I was safe and happy and wished her well. She didn't take it well, and along with a load of insults and abuse, she threatened to hurt herself if I didn't return. 2 days later, police were at our door at 3 AM with reports from her saying my partner had kidnapped me and I was mentally delayed, so he was taking advantage of me. Needless to say, these reports were completely unfounded. 2 years of harassment, threats, and BS later, I had stopped engaging with them whenever they did stuff. That's when it happened. I'm still in contact with my godparents, and I was warned that my parents had made plans to travel over 3,000 miles to the country I'm living in with the sole purpose of tracking me down and taking me back against my will. They had literally planned to pick me up off the street and take me on a flight back. I came up with a plan. I'd been to the police several times during the past 2 years and kept a paper trail just in case. I went to the police about their plans and was placed on a vulnerable persons list. The day before they came to this whole different country, my godparent had made me aware of them begging my uncle, a former police officer, to help them track down my new address, as I am no longer living at the last address they found out about, and thus they had no idea where I was living. Of course, my uncle was no help. You think this is where it ends, as you can't possibly expect to land in a new country and be able to track someone's location then and there, right? Nah, they aren't too smart. So they land in the country and show up to my last address, only to find out I'm not there and no one there knows where I am. With nothing left to turn to, they walk into a police station. They ask for help finding their missing daughter, and once they gave my age, 20, name, and their names, it was all over for them. They were caught for violating a no-contact order and apparently argued to the police that I am mentally regressed and kidnapped by a pedo. My husband was 21 at the time while I was 20, along with saying I need supervision, etc. But with a previous false police report and a long paper trail of evidence documenting the abuse, they didn't have a leg to stand on. Finally, I had the police show up to my door to relay all of this information. They also tell me how after my parents argued on and on about how they deserved to see their little mentally ill daughter and were refused, they turn around and ask for a welfare check because that crazy man is keeping her captive. They demanded the officers to take me to them since we're her parents, so we legally have the right to be around her. I had a laugh with the officers, especially when they told me that my parents had left a phone number to call them on to talk, but didn't think to get a SIM for this country and kept the one from theirs on another continent. I of course declined and reinstated my desire for no contact. Apparently, after being told this, they lost their marbles at the officers to the point they were ordered to leave the country or face charges on stalking and harassment. They left, of course, and began telling everyone how selfish I was. They began saying how depressed they were, but they weren't smart, since only a couple of hours after they were reprimanded by the authorities, they took videos of them partying, drinking, dancing, and laughing together. The day after, they were posting about their shopping sprees in Paris and partying, but yeah, I do that too when I'm depressed. They went home and continued talking rubbish about me for not letting them take me back and made up stories about how myself and my husband are on drugs. Neither of us have even touched as much as a cigarette in our lives, but go off, I guess. Not working, both mentally unstable delinquents, etc. Along with accusations that my husband raped me and such, all because I didn't let them take me. There is a good end for this though. They were stupid enough to barge into the house of my godparent and threaten her in front of her young children and husband, who was an officer. Word got around quickly, and now people are starting to see them for who they really are. There's no chance they'll be allowed in this country again after now 2 false police reports and a possible case of stalking/harassment, etc. So I'm safe here. It's probably worth mentioning that they're pretty wealthy and rely mainly on my dad's business. Word is that now that he's been exposed, that's plummeting. All's well that ends well. Oh, and just a little update as well, turns out my parents called and threatened my godparent last night. There are talks of them wanting to sue me for slander. If I receive anything including a court date, I'm ready to take them down and will update. Well, I for one cannot wait to see what happens with this story. Yeah, your parents sound absolutely terrible, but yeah, keep us updated please. You know what, I kind of want there to be a court date because you could just absolutely destroy your parents in court. Surely, you have so much evidence against them, and what do they have? Nothing. Like, can you imagine them in court trying to stand up for themselves? Well, yeah, we chased our kid down to a totally different country after they said they didn't want any more contact, but that's not harassment. We've got a right to see our kid. It's our kid, remember? Yeah, sorry, that's just not how it works. So guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Entitled Parents. I really hope you liked it. If you want more immediately, the playlist is on screen right now for you to watch all of my Entitled Parents videos. If not, I will see you guys all tomorrow, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment before that.